Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. I do apologize. I realized when I went to upload it or when I went to start it tonight that I hadn't changed the date or the time when I was actually setting it up. So nobody knew when it was coming. So I get it. I understand. I'm still a rookie at this. So anyways, our topic for tonight here on Into the Progverse, which is the show we do every Friday night, is going to be those space rock bands. Yeah, the space rock bands. Now, most people know some of the ones I'm going to say, but they don't really think of the others as space rocks, or they actually never even heard of a lot of these bands. But I've been slowly accumulating some space rock albums and some bands that I like. Quite a few I haven't gotten into yet, but I'm really starting to get there. Of course, the one that most people think of is Pink Floyd. Now, Pink Floyd is a kind of a strange band. Well, we all know that. We don't need to have to say it, but they're kind of an unusual band. They don't really fit neatly into really any genre. They have some psychedelic, which you'll find on this album. This is the album I chose for the space rock, but it does have a lot of psychedelic rock on it too. They have prog rock in their discography. They have some bluesy stuff in there. They have some melodic, almost metal sound to their music. Yeah, just and pop. There's a lot of poppy kind of sounds to their music too. To me, ultimately, I think of them as a progressive rock band dominated primarily by that space rock sound. That's the sound I like best by them. And I chose this album in particular because I think it kind of represents that psychedelic, spacey feel that people associate Pink Floyd with. This album is absolutely fantastic. They have some other albums that are very spacey as well, but this is the one that I chose for tonight. So that's Pink Floyd. Most people know them. They're the obvious band. Some of the other obvious bands to those who follow space rock and who generally collect stuff that is in space rock is Hawkwind. This particular album is fantastic. I think this is probably one of their two best albums ever released. I do like that spacey kind of artistic stuff going on here. And if you open it up, you'll see that it was equally on the backside as well. So this is the album Warrior at the Edge of Time. Pretty spacey. Most Hawkwind stuff has a lot of that spacey sound to it, and they've got probably close to 30, 27, 28, 29, 30 studio albums, maybe even more. They've also had some other incarnations of the band, such as Hawk Lords. There was another incarnation, but I'm not. Oh, Church of Hawkwind. We've got all these different incarnations of the same band. Sometimes they change the name slightly for, I think mostly if they're trying a different style of music a bit, they'll change the name a bit. But generally speaking, almost all their albums, they may have some punk on it. They may have some hard rock on it. They may have some prog rock on it. They may have all kinds of different elements. But there's always a space element on almost every album. The next band that won't come as any surprise to anybody here, I think they're fairly well known as one of the two or three most known space rock bands, and that's Eloy. I picked this particular album because I think this is very Floydish sounding and thus having a very kind of pink space rock sound to them. They have a multitude of albums, probably 25 plus, or at least 22 or 23 plus anyways. Lots of space rock here. It's one of my favorite space rock bands. Starting back in that same time period as Hawkwind, and Pink Floyd. Well, maybe a little after Pink Floyd. So I would say Pink Floyd probably came in the mid 60s, Hawkwind in the early to late 60s to early 70s, Eloy maybe a little bit after that. Next up, we have Gong. To me, Gong is a kind of a strange band, very different. But most of the reason I like space rock bands is because they all have that kind of strange sound to them. This album was the first one I got from them. The Universe also Collapses. Really very spacey looking album. The album is kind of spacey sounding, a little bit of that psychedelic stuff going on as well. And you can see that in the color format on this. Now, Gong is a band I've only recently started to explore. I think I have 2 of their albums, and I'm not sure where one of them went. So we have, so Gong is another space rock band that I think is quite good. If you're trying to get into space rock, they're one of the bands you want to listen to. Next up is a band that this album was given to me by a friend. It sat on my shelf for 3 years until recently when I seen somebody talk about the album and about the band. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to give them a chance. I listened to the album. I quite like it, actually. It surprised me how much I actually like it. And that's The Muse. Yeah. This album is the one that I have, Resistance. It's much more proggy than I had originally thought. It's got a lot of spacey feels to it as well. Very, very interesting group. Looking forward to actually maybe looking for more of their stuff as well. So The Muse, another band I selected. This one might be a little bit more psychedelic in nature, but they definitely have a lot of that space rock feel to their music too. This band, of course, Ozric Tentacles. This is kind of a greatest hits album, and I'm not even quite sure which way is up here. Okay, so there's Ozric Tentacles, and this is the Bits. Between the Bits is the name of it. So it's kind of a purple album, as you see, very purpley. I tend to think of these guys as a little bit more like psychedelic. Some of their albums very psychedelic sounding to them. Not as much space rock, but to me, it's there's not a large difference between that psychedelic sound before it becomes spacey or proggy after that, right? Next up, another band I chose is Nectar. I chose this particular album mostly for the cover. It's a very space rock oriented cover. This album has a lot of different sounds to it. It's one that I've only recently started to follow a little bit more than I originally had. It wasn't my playlist at one time, but I kind of got out of it. But this is an absolute great stuff here. Nectar, Time Machine. Now they have others that are pretty spacey as well. I tend to think of their earlier stuff as being a little bit more heavy and proggy. And then as they moved along, it got some poppy elements to it, and the songs got a little bit shorter as well. Another band, and I've only explored this one particular album. I do have 3 of them. So I've been kind of working my way through it. I feel a real sense of spaciness to their music, progginess. It's interesting, complex, intricate, good stuff. Porcupine Tree, and this is the Light Bulb Tree Sun album, As You Want. So those are the 8 or no, I think it was 8. I think there's 8 albums I chose. Other bands that you might be interested in exploring if you happen to like this genre, and I quite love this genre. So for me, it's easy. I just keep looking, and there's just seems to be no end of them out there. And a few other bands that I have listened to a little bit, and I would like to listen to a little bit more, are bands like Spacemen. I've listened to them just a tiny bit. UFO, of course. I don't really think of UFO as a space rock band. To me, they're more of a hard rock band, but they definitely have some of that element going on as well. Other bands include White Hills, I've listened to them once or twice as well. I do like them. Just looking here on the list of stuff that they're offering up here. I've never listened to this band, Cosmic Jokers. I've taken a couple of their albums off the shelf and looked at them, but never actually went and bought them. Probably that's something I might want to try as well. I really like space rock, so I'm trying to move that. Now, they do suggest that maybe Camel is a space rock band. I don't really think of Camel as a space rock band. They're more mellow than spacey. Kind of think of them as more of a pastoral band, but they do have definitely do carry some of that space rock element in their music. So, yeah, some really good stuff out there. So some of the other albums, I'm going to talk a little bit more about these bands that I have chosen. I chose 8. Now, there's a few other bands I had thought about, but these are the main ones. So with Pink Floyd, other than this album, some of the stuff that I find bits and pieces of Dark Side of the Moon, even Animals, which I think is more of a heavier album. Wish You Were Here, of course, very spacey and very robotic and very technical in a lot of ways. I don't really think of The Wall in that terms, but there are some of the earlier albums like, well, maybe not Ummagumma, but the, I'm drawing a blank. I can see the word in my head and it's not coming out. Anyways, with Pink Floyd, they're hit and miss with it. To me, I can see why people get upset when you call them a prog band. I can understand why they call them a space band. People get upset because they don't think of them that way. They think of them in whatever way they want to think of them. But they do definitely have those elements in the music. And to deny that is you're just fooling yourself. Hawkwind has a ton of albums. I would say their first 5, 6, maybe 7 albums, really good stuff. Lots of very spacey stuff. And then some of their later stuff sprinkled throughout the rest of their career. They have a lot of pretty good stuff too. I have, I'm looking at my Hawkwind because I moved everything around. They're over there on the new shelf that I got, which I'll be showing a little bit of the stuff this morning. I bought a new one of these black shelves today. It holds about 70, so I can space them out a little bit more. Yeah, I think I have like 5 over there, and I've got some new ones back here that I've going to be listening to. I don't think I bought any yet the other day. I can't remember if I did. I don't think I did, but Hawkwind's a band I like quite a bit. I do like their older stuff better, but they do have some of that stuff in the 80s and 90s, and even more recently in the last few years that are pretty good as well. With Eloy, I chose this album because I think of it as the most Floydish like. One of the heavier albums too. Very spacey, but they do have like a lot of their albums are got that really spacey sound to it. Dawn has that. Oceans 2, which is one that I own. Oceans itself has some. Yeah, lots of this kind of stuff. But this album, I think, actually showcases the band instrumentally better than any of the other studio albums. So personally, I think this is probably my favorite of their albums. With Ozric Tentacles, with Gong, I was attracted to this album first. I have bought a couple of others. I bought a Mother Gong, which is kind of a side. It's kind of like Hawkwind, where they kind of side off once in a while and doing some of their stuff. I didn't like that much. I didn't really actually like it at all. But this one I loved. I think this is great. The Muse, this is the only one I have by them, but I think this is reasonably considered to be one of their best. One of their best albums. But I think they have half a dozen or so more that I would like to explore as well. With Ozric Tentacles, which I said earlier when I meant Gong, There are 2 or 3 that I really like, but they're right now in the store where I usually go. They don't have any used ones. They only have the new ones, and they're all like pushing $24, $25. To me, that's a lot to spend on a instrumental band. I like vocals. I would probably spend it if it was maybe $10 cheaper on each of the albums, but I just can't justify that when I can get 3 or 4 albums I really like. So, but eventually they will build up into the discography that I'm hoping that I'll have for them. Nectar, I do have quite a few now. I think I have their first, I want to say I have their first 4 for sure. And then I have a sprinkling of them throughout that I'm slowly building on. This one was one of actually my first ones. I got this for, I bought like a stack one day of 30 albums, and this was in there. And this is a little bit later in their career. Not as great an album, but still got a lot of it. The earlier stuff like Journey to the Center of the Eye, got some spacey elements to that. You've got some spacey elements to, pretty much most of their early stuff has a little bit of spaciness to it. I wouldn't call this a predominantly space band. I kind of think of these guys as a mixture of quite a few elements. They're progressive. They do have some spacey to it. There's a little bit of bluesy stuff to it. There's actually some poppy stuff to it. But they're, to me, when I think of them, other than the prog, I think of them as being very hard, almost metal-like, at least early on anyways. Porcupine Tree, still pretty new to me. I do like this one. The other 2 I haven't really gotten into enough to give it any kind of thought on. I'd like to get some more of their stuff. But this one I did like. It had some different elements to it and definitely had that spacey feel to it at times as well. Band that I will follow, probably get into a little bit more as we go along. Now, I don't know, I didn't include a band like Tangerine Dream here, but you got to think of them as being spacey as well. But they're also an instrumental band, so they don't have a lot of, I think there's actually only one album by them that actually has, I'm just looking for one of their albums here and I don't see it. Yeah, I can't see it because I moved a lot of stuff around, so maybe not so readily seeable. But, here's one. So I think this could be the one too. There's one album they have where there's actual vocals on it. I think this might be it, but so there are 5 tracks on the album. We're going to look and see if it is. I think one of the 2 I bought recently have vocals on them. It might say so here if we look. No, this is not the one. But I've been slowly getting into these guys. These are one of my favorite bands to listen to on the headphones. That's probably the biggest, to me, the biggest asset of space rock is that one of my favorite genres to listen to on my headphones. There's so much going on. The headphones isolate it for me. I find it very relaxing. I absolutely love some of the space rock stuff through the headphones. So that's my kind of take on the space rock bands tonight and the ones that I like and the reasons why I like them and how many of them I've got more of. I've got probably Eloy, Pink Floyd, and Hawkwind are the ones I have the most of. But there are some albums now I'm starting to get more and more from them as I go along. So if anybody wants to put in their comments below whether they like these bands or don't, or if they want to put list some other bands that they think are space rock that I might be interested in. Now, there's a band like Cats in Space. I've only listened to them very briefly. Obviously, they got a bit of a spacey feel to them, but I don't know if you would call them a space rock band. I probably wouldn't. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. We're going to cut it a little bit short tonight. Been a long, hard week, I must add. I would have stuck with it a little longer if I had posted it right. So I'll have to try and post them right and keep a check on the time it's coming out. I thought I had it at the right time. Obviously, I didn't. So, and it doesn't show up on my list of coming up videos that I might make a little bit early because it's under the live category. Anyways, I hope you like and subscribe to the channel. It helps my cause, gives me some motivation to do more. And if you want to put your list of prog bands that you enjoy, or of space rock bands that you enjoy, or others you think that I might enjoy, you can do that as well. Anyways, I hope to see you next week on the live stream. Although actually, in retrospect, because next week is the holiday weekend, I think I am going away. So the live stream probably won't take place. Some of the other episodes that I normally do during the week will be out there, but the live stream and maybe some of the stuff on Saturday may not appear this week coming. Not this Saturday, but the following one. So anyways, I hope you have a good evening and take care, and we will see you. We'll see you soon. Take care and goodbye.